the end of what we might call an eventful week, and tonight's programme follows that pattern. We've 3 matches for you, littered with goals, plus a discussion on what has become a most explosive topic following last week's match of the day. The question is, are players deceiving referees too often these days and affecting the results of the games unfairly by pretending to have been fouled? 2 men well qualified to discuss that topic are our guests tonight. Gordon Taylor, Chairman of the Professional Footballers Association, and Pat Partridge, FIFA and Football League referee and respected for his talent throughout the world. Welcome, gentlemen. I shall be looking forward to the discussion later after the action, which we start with Queen's Park Rangers against Burnley, followed by 2 lively matches from the First Division. There's Southampton against Leeds.
Ball's on the right wing. The amount of ground he covered there was stupendous. There's 4 in the centre.
And finally, we see the improving Manchester City against the league champions, Liverpool.
Robinson will try the shot. Oh, brilliant! Oh, did it go? No.
And the other headlines, Glenn Hoddle celebrated his 22nd birthday with the Spurs goal that knocked Nottingham Forest off the top of the table. Bournemouth's Ted McDougall, a player of many clubs and goals, set a record with his 249th league goal. And sorry, Jim, the Browns hit the Sky Blues today. Alistair and Tony getting all 4 for West Brom against Coventry.
Well, let's now go to Loftus Road for the match between Tommy Docherty's new-look Queen's Park Rangers team and Burnley, currently bottom of the table but hoping for better things under new manager Brian Miller. The commentator, Barry Davis.
We hear often enough from managers and coaches about the right time to blood a young player. But circumstances often dictate, and because of an injury to Alan Stevenson, 19-year-old Billy O'Rourke is in goal for Burnley this afternoon. Very much in the firing line. His team haven't won a league game for 20 matches. But at least he's in plenty of teenage company. On his own side, there's 18-year-old Kevin Young. Among the opposition, the youngest player on the pitch, Clive Allen. Yet a third 18-year-old, Steve Burke, who came from Nottingham Forest, as indeed did 19-year-old Chris Woods, the opposition goalkeeper. Before the start of this season, they had just 11 league appearances between them. The lineup in front of Woods shows a first game of the season for Barry Wallace. Because of an injury to Bob Hazel, Glenn Roeder moves into the back line. Tony Curry is still unfit. 9 of that Burnley lineup played for them in the First Division, and Martin Dobson has followed a line of James and Kindon in having a second spell with the Burnley club. Referee this afternoon is Jeff Gray from Hinckley. The last time that Burnley recorded a victory was against Blackburn on April the 14th. An early touch for Billy O'Rourke, which I'm sure he'll appreciate. This is Brennan. Real Coppenab, the goalkeeper. Kindon, if he could have held that for a moment, he could have run on. Goddard, a bit of a nudge from Thompson. Comes down to Allen, who does it so neatly. And the first test for the goalkeeper. Came out to the 6-yard line, didn't hold, but he'll feel better having had his first save from the youngest player on the field, Clive Allen. Played early by Wallace. Here's Burke. Allen is far post, number 9. Well, the first really clear-cut chance. If he'd have got it right, the pace of Steve Burke, another England youth, the early cross, Clive Allen, yet another England youth on the right side, and he got it the wrong side of the goal from his point of view, but the right side from O'Rourke's point of view. Injured Bob Hazel in the centre of the picture, and the substitute is Mickey Walsh. Brennan. They're all moving forward. Now, where have we seen that tactic before? Could it be Manchester United? Rhoda. Brennan. Broadway telling him to give it to the goalkeeper. He declines to accept the advice. And, oh dear, what a disaster. And Goddard in the end. That really was total disaster. Brennan in the first place invited to give it to the goalkeeper. It was Noble who played it back. Rodaway who was there. And Goddard had the simplest of jobs to score a goal which was created by the Burnley defence. Goddard's 5th goal of the season, giving Rangers the lead in the 19th minute. Martin Dobson. Really cruel on Burnley, but they've only themselves to blame. Having survived a few anxious moments, to give away a goal like that when you haven't won since last April is really a kick in the stomach. Out of the sand, Noble up, but he jumped on the back of McCreary. And Tommy Doherty, having come down to the bench, goes back to his seat in the stand, but a substitution to be made. And it's Steve Burke who's going off, obviously for some knock. And Mickey Walsh comes on. Goal given away, a real sickener for the new manager, Brian Miller. He's been with the club all his life, but took over as manager on October the 16th. Allen. Plenty of yellow shirts back. And it's going to come to Shanks. And it's deflected in by Brennan. Shanks' shot deflected past his own goalkeeper by Ian Brennan. And Billy O'Rourke entitled to look a bit downcast. Both goals that have beaten him have really been given away by more experienced players ahead of him. Shanks doubtless will claim it on his 27th birthday. Scott. Bowles. Shadowed by Young. Holloway finding that James was slightly in his way then. Now into pastures clear with Brennan on the left side. Rhoda timing his interception superbly and leading a promising counter. Walsh to his right, two others to his left. Goes to Walsh, Allen is now unmarked, and Goddard gets it in. So Goddard's second goal, but the man who made it was the man who started it from the back, timing the interception, carrying forward, picking his moment to pass to Walsh. The defender went over to Walsh, leaving Allen unmarked, but the cross was longer and it was Goddard who got it in. And the goal coming after Burnley had begun to sort themselves out just a little bit. There's Dobson. Scott. Two minds by the goalkeeper, but he was offside, was Peter Noble. It started to come and then got back, probably amazed to see that there was a yellow shirted figure standing right in front of him. Might have had slight trouble too with the reflection of the sun, which I know a bit about myself. Clear foul by Jim Thompson. Clive Allen. Oh, he's done that well. Didn't quite get rid of his man though. Nice angle from Bowles. Wallace. Roda. Free waiting in the box, the ball with Bowles. On for Roda. Oh, such arrogant stuff. Jim Thompson's foot puts it out for the corner. One player on each post, one in the middle, who is not particularly well marked at the moment, Steve Wicks. Walsh is also in the 6-yard box. And Bowles finds Wicks, and Goddard couldn't get on the end. Oh, beautifully taken by David McCreary. Typical of the little fella. When it was all bobbing about, the goalkeeper was struggling to get there. Feet might have come up, but David McCreary didn't mind. Yes, precisely like that, taking a dive at it to head home. So that is 4, right on the stroke of half-time. And if Rangers maintain their mood in the second half, we could have something pretty close to an annihilation here. Dobson for Burnley. Applause from the crowd. Real problems for the Burnley manager, Brian Miller. 2 goals given away, 2 taken. Brings a 4-0 scoreline to Queen's Park Rangers at half-time. Rangers get the second half underway, having already hit their highest goal tally of the season. Their opponents, Burnley, it's the most they've conceded in a match to date. It'll be very much a question of attitude in the second half, whether Queen's Park Rangers will maintain their concentration. It has so far been a pretty easy match for them. It's the first very clear free kick. Query on Scott. Tommy Docherty's side's not noted for easing off. Goddard comfortably away from Dobson. Allen. Walsh going to the middle. Wallace. Bowles. Saw Roda. Hit a bit long. Allen keeps it in but could do no more. Scott. Fletcher is all alone. James. 5 up for Burnley. And there's Peter Noble. He's got himself unmarked and put it wide, I think mainly off his left ear. Wallace. Allen to his left, boy can go alone. Here is Allen. That's 5, so simple. Wallace, just a knife through butter then. Played it off just at the right moment, and Allen took it first time into the corner. It's his first of the afternoon and his 10th of the season overall. 9 in the league, 1 in the League Cup. Young, away by McCreary. Brian Miller, and to his right, Frank Casper really have a full-time job here. 5 points, bottom place in the 2nd division. Jobson, plenty of players forward again for Burnley. And again there's a man unmarked, and again they can't make it pay. Noble was the player. Woods parried and Shanks got it off the line. A good parry by Woods, who was left bereft of any cover. Fletcher at the back, Dobson, Brennan. And an offside decision. Making the pass for Wallace. Everything now left of Wallace. Held it for Bowles. Oh, it's a good save, but it was a spinning, swerving shot from Bowles. It bounced just in front of the keeper. Did well, the youngster. From a sitting position, Stan Bowles. And pushed into the mud from Wicks. Quickly in by Goddard. Wallace. Bowles, Young to him. Probably wishes he'd stay where he was now. It's McCreary and Rodaway. Now Brennan. Forward for Kindon, who is offside. It's crowd-pleasing stuff. Spectators seeing plenty of action. Second half really, on the face of it, quite even, but of course it's somewhat out of context with the control of the match overall, which Rangers undoubtedly have at 5 up, which must rank as one of the understatements of the season to date. Here's Wallace. Here's Bowles if he can get there, and that will be a penalty without any question. Young's tackle, and it's the other teenager who goes to console him, the goalkeeper. Bowles on his knees. These days, Clive Allen takes the penalties here. And if he puts it in, it will equal Rangers' 6 against West Ham of a couple of seasons ago in the League Cup. Well, the goalkeeper moved and was in no position to make a stop. So, second goal for Clive Allen. Six 0. One now to equal the highest score of the season by Arsenal in the League Cup against Leeds. Oh, Goddard let it run. And Walsh honing in, but not able to receive. Tommy Doherty enjoying the sunshine in more sense than one. Theo Foley to his right, Cancelo to his left. Walsh. Picks out Gillard. And here's Allen. He spends the chance of a hat-trick. So much space to put it in as the ball came across from Gillard. And put it over the top. Slight worry for Woods. Gillard. Walsh, a lot of movement, McCreary, Walsh, magnificent stop, what a beautiful move. I don't know whether there are a few bets going on the bench, I don't know. Trip by Gillard on James. Brought away. Kindon. Derek Scott. Bowles immediately to Walsh, draws Thompson, 2 against 1 in the middle. Walsh taking a long time to take advantage of that fact. Here is the man over. And, oh dear, it's Roeder who scores in the end. Roeder who got it in the end. Walsh taking a long time to pick out Goddard. Goddard trying a cheeky one for Allen, whose shot came back off the post. And Glenn Roeder scores Rangers 7. So we're now into injury time. Appreciation from the home crowd to their team. 7-0, 2 to Goddard, 2 to Allen, who really ought to have had a hat-trick and spared 2 chances. And a debut for young Billy O'Rourke that he won't forget. But I hope the day will come when he can look back on it with a smile rather than with the understandable tears that he shows now. It's his manager, Brian Miller, who comes to console him. And the youngster can recall the fact that it was by no means his fault.
And what a pleasure it is to see those Queen's Park Rangers players consoling Billy O'Rourke. Mind you, in a moment or two, the Rangers players might have needed consolation themselves, because manager Tommy Docherty said afterwards, "It's the worst they've played since I've been manager." Well, they should be a good bet for the Championship when they really warm up. Well, let's see where they are in the table now.
Well, Rangers' victory did wonders for their goal difference, and they're now in 4th place ahead of 3 other clubs on 16 points. Luton still lead despite dropping a home point to Preston, but they're joined on 18 points by Newcastle, 2-0 winners over Cambridge. Wrexham move into 3rd place after beating Watford. Top scorer David Moss saved Luton a point with a late penalty against Preston. Dixie McNeil scored 2 of Wrexham's 3 goals against Watford. A good win that, considering Terry Darracott was sent off before half-time. And incidentally, he was one of 5 players to get the red card this afternoon. West Ham's Pat Holland ended Notts County's unbeaten home run. Gary Lineker scored twice on his league debut as Leicester beat Sunderland 2-1. But Geoff Hurst's first game since his appointment as Chelsea's manager ended in a 2-0 home defeat by Fulham. Said Geoff, "It's been going so well lately, I've been half expecting a kick in the teeth."
On with the action now, and before Manchester City v Liverpool, we pop down to the south coast to see Southampton against Leeds. Perhaps not quite Championship teams at the moment, but certainly they would both have eyes on a place in Europe next season. The commentator is John Watson.
Dave Watson, the England centre-half, makes his home debut for Southampton following his transfer from Werder Bremen in Germany and following a 4-0 defeat at West Brom in his first game for his new club last week. But despite that defeat, Southampton keep an unchanged side. There was a late doubt this morning about Charlie George, who had a foot injury, but he plays with the help of an injection which he received just before the kick-off. In fairness to Jimmy Adamson, who was given a vote of confidence by his directors this week, Leeds have been unable to field a settled team all season. Today they're without David Harvey, Brian Greenoff and Arthur Graham, all injured, and without Paul Hart and Brian Flynn, both suspended. So, unusual midfield roles for both Ray Hankin and Peter Hampton, while Trevor Cherry switches to right back because Kevin Hurd has been dropped. And number 4, Jeff Chandler, playing in the attack, is Leeds' recent signing from Blackpool, and it's his first full game in the First Division. Southampton manager looking to be in usual good humour. Indeed, Laurie McMenamin's side are the highest scorers in the First Division in home matches. They've scored 19 at the Dell in 6 games. Referee today is Eric Reid from Bristol. Southampton in stripes to start the match. The two sides met 4 times last season, twice in the league and twice in the League Cup. Each team won once and there were 2 draws, but Southampton knocked Leeds out the League Cup semi-final, you may remember. There's Alan Ball. Flicked back by Shannon. Ray Hankin, number 9, playing in the centre of midfield, something which might surprise Southampton slightly. That was Cherry, looking for Chandler. Waldron's header. Nick Holmes nods it back. David Peach. Charlie George with the touch off. Boyer. Spread it wide. Shannon. Came off Byron Stevenson. Playing left back despite the number 2. You have to get used to the Leeds numbers. They've got players in unusual positions and they've tried not to change the programme here too much. Williams for Southampton. Boyer. And again. And away by Madeley. Williams. Hampton seemed to hold him off there as he went for the return. Free kick given. Shannon on the ground would put a powerful header in there, and Lukic going to his left. Well, he did really well to keep that out. He stopped it almost on the line. That was Entwistle. Referee's given the throw to Southampton. Watson. There was an offside flag up. So 20 minutes of brisk football here, no score. Southampton having slightly the better of things, as you might expect from the home side. Charlie George, what a glorious ball that was to Hebbard. Good cross to Boyer. Started by Charlie George with the sort of crossfield pass you could only stand back and admire. Hebbard knew what to do as well. What about the cross? Boyer's header was emphatic against the underside and in. And Boyer makes it 13 goals this season for him and 1-0 on the day to Southampton. Excellent first-time football, and it brought its just reward. It'll be very interesting when Chris Nicholl comes back from injury to see how Laurie McMenemy permutates his central defenders. I rather think he's got the idea of possibly playing Watson and Nicholl together, which might surprise a few people. Here's Ball. Peach has found acres of space on that side. He wasn't closed down. Good ball in, little touch on. And the referee blows because the linesman on the far side saw a player in an offside position. But a very sprightly start to this match by Mike Shannon, who's so pleased to be back in his original surroundings of Hampshire, having had a somewhat unhappy spell at Manchester City. Chandler. Oh, that's a fine ball to Entwistle, and Geno has come, and Entwistle has scored for Leeds. Southampton allowed too much space in their last third of the field there, really. Chandler saw the opening, created the space with the pass to Entwistle. Geno came off his line, and in doing so, I think, made up Entwistle's mind for him. And Wayne Entwistle, signed from Sunderland recently, scores his first goal for Leeds United to make it 1-1. And that's a foul by Hankin on Boyer. This time played short for Mike Shannon. Chandler. Leeds could break here if he plays the right ball. My word, they can too. If Gray could find Curtis now, Peach was in the way, and this could be a Southampton attack offside. The speed of modern football was clearly illustrated there. Southampton looked to be in a good position. By winning the ball, Leeds put themselves in an offensive position, and then Southampton threatened them, all in a matter of about 6 seconds. But the score remains at 1 goal each. Here's Hankin. Stevenson. Hankin. Gray. That was a fine try. Very good save by Terry Geno. Eddie Gray trying his luck with the left foot, and Geno going to his right to turn it round. Wasted rather by Leeds. Shannon. Graham ball. I would have thought that was possibly a foul by Alan Ball. The linesman thinks so. Alan Ball doesn't, as you can see. match. Oh, what a great run by David Peach. I wonder if it would have been different if he'd finally got the ball on his left foot rather than on his right. It was a terrific run from way back, and that's nice to see a defender seeing space of that sort and being prepared to go all the way into it and take the responsibility of a shot at goal. Many perhaps would have looked to pass. And it marks the end of a good first half. Southampton having more of the game, having taken the lead through Boyer, but Leeds coming back well, getting their equaliser through Wayne Entwistle, but at half-time it's 1-1. The crowd, by the way, this afternoon here is the best of the season at the Dell, I'm told, 23,259. Well, if Leeds are going to feel the effects of that midweek trip to Romania in the UEFA Cup, I think it might well be in the second half, which they start now playing from left to right, with a long ball from Trevor Cherry. That's Williams and Hampton, and that's been quite a scrap. John Mortimer, nearest us, the Southampton assistant manager. And again, they're coming forward, Southampton, with Shannon trying to put Alan Ball in. It was a bit unlucky the way that ran off. He knows how close it was. It just ran off his shin. Alan Ball enjoying his football at 34, and a nice little moment there between him and Ray Hankin. Gray. Oh, that's typical Eddie Gray. Look at that run. And the cross goes in for Curtis. It comes to Chandler. Deflection of Holmes. Ball wasn't quite sure, but Hebbard suddenly saw his opportunity to make, what, 60 yards? Shannon. Oh, he's got George free on this side, and Trevor Cherry made what could prove to be a vital interception. The danger's not over yet. Holmes. Williams. George. Williams looks for an obstruction offence by Madeley. The referee doesn't buy it. We've been playing an hour, and the score 1-1. And a fine match to watch. Ball finds Boyer. Shannon on the far post coming in now. Shannon. It's going to come to Charlie George. To Holmes. Oh, Williams. And do you know what? The flag stayed down. Leeds are screaming for an offside. But when Holmes hit it and it came to the feet of Williams, there was no flag on the far side at all from the linesman, and that would have stood had Williams scored, as he may feel he should have done. Here's Gray. Oh, through the legs of Williams, and he's got brought down by Peach. And it's still a joy to watch this fellow play, Eddie Gray. What a servant he's been to Leeds during and since the Don Revie days. And there's still nobody who can dribble quite like him, in my opinion. It's an old-fashioned art, but when Gray plays, it's on view. Here he is again. Nice ball, Curtis. But Alan Ball is back in defence, and Peach it is who plays a good ball up to Boyer. Holmes, and Alan Ball's forward again. This is Williams. George. Ball's on the right wing. The amount of ground he covered there was stupendous. There's 4 in the centre. Boyer! Post, and if it had gone in, the goal would have gone to Boyer, but you couldn't have counted the number of things Alan Ball did in the play which preceded that. It was absolutely staggering. As Southampton developed their play, I saw Alan Ball make at least 4 runs and maybe 5 into different positions before he finally got the ball. And when the cross came in, Boyer's flick header came back off the post, and for Lukic, very conveniently, it fell right into his arms. And he finds Curtis. Good run by Alan Curtis. Look at that, he sent them all ways. What a good try. That's an absolutely brilliant goal. That is absolutely outstanding from Curtis. And Leeds are in front. He turned them inside out by himself. And against the run of play, it's all smiles in the Leeds camp. Alan Curtis picking the ball up and showing responsibility of going alone, twisting and turning, sending defenders in the wrong direction, and that low shot beating Geno down to his left. And Southampton, having had so much of the play and created so many openings, find themselves behind. But solo efforts don't come all that often like that from players away from home. And that was a fine goal. But the noise being made inside the Dell at the moment is being made by the travelling Leeds supporters. Williams. Headed. Going into injury time. Hampton, play on to the referee. Play on again, he says. Southampton lost out on both tackles. Gray. That's the long ball for Entwistle. Waldron's header. Williams. Holmes. Hebbard. Peach. Williams. Lifted through for Boyer. He couldn't make it. And Leeds are relieved because that might well have been the last chance for Southampton. One or two of the Leeds players are asking the referee just how much time he's going to add on because it's over full time now. Boyer turned and had a last chance, but he shot well wide. What a good result for Leeds. Dave Merrington walks away at the end of what was a turbulent week for this club. The directors gave the manager a vote of confidence when the fans wanted him out. They lost in Romania, but my word, thanks to that fine goal by Curtis, they've won here today. And although Southampton will be disappointed having had so much of the game, Alan Ball directing them well, and in the first half they were in front. Despite that, Leeds showed character, and from that backcloth they came out to win the match 10 minutes from the end. Southampton 1, Leeds United 2, and it's Leeds' first away win of the season in the First Division.
And I must say I was pleased for Jimmy Adamson with that result after all the pressure he's been under this week. His young goalkeeper, John Lucic, hardly made an error during the period of Southampton's intensive pressure, and his selection of Ray Hankin in midfield really came off. He looked as if he'd been playing there all his life. Southampton were a little unlucky, it's true, but maybe if when they don't win a game early on as a result of their undoubted ability, they do seem to struggle a bit in the final furlong. Well, now to complete our 45 minutes of action tonight, we take a further look at the league champions Liverpool, who today were at Manchester City, whom you may remember took 2 points off European champions Nottingham Forest at Main Road just a week or two ago. Your commentator is Desmond Lynham, and we join the match with just 10 minutes gone.
Power, better known as a midfield player playing full-back for City these days. Oh, and that was a difficult one. Now Dalglish would only keep it a beat. Oh, he can't clear it, Butcher. There's got to be a goal. Yes, Johnson gets his 8th goal of the season. Well, there were 2 bad mistakes there. The ball eventually came to Dalglish. The goalkeeper was out of position. And then Johnson, well, he couldn't really miss that one, could he? Top of the net. Manchester City 0, Liverpool 1. Setting up Robinson. Robinson will try the shot. Oh, brilliant! Oh, was it a goal? No, came out off off the inside of the bar, of the post. Well, that was a super pass setting up Robinson. He decided to go for the shot rather than square the ball across. It was a fine effort, and he was very unlucky indeed for the ball to come out of the inside of the post. Here's Dalglish. Neil. Crossed by Case. Butcher's there again. Ray Kennedy, Dalglish. It's there. Well, the Manchester City defence were looking to the linesman. They thought a hint of offside there. The referee says no. The ball came down beautifully to Dalglish. He could hardly miss. Liverpool are 2-0 up. Dalglish. Good first time ball, beautiful ball, Souness. Case on the outside. They know what they're doing. Good play by Case. Here's Dalglish. Leaves it for Highway. Souness. And not so very far away. Well, what an exciting build-up to Liverpool's play there. Souness. Looking for the alternatives, and there nearly was quite a few for Liverpool. Case. Right through Caton's legs. Johnson. Kennedy's up there, Ray Kennedy, that is. The cross from Neil for Kennedy's head, and just past the post. Well, Ray Kennedy was waiting for the pass originally from Johnson, but eventually it came from fullback Neil, and really, you might feel that he ought to have scored with that one. Well, in fact, it was Caton who got the header in there eventually. Thompson seemed to have cleared it, but it went to Caton's head, but not really a chance. Now Johnson for Liverpool. This spearhead for Liverpool have looked good this afternoon. Johnson and Dalglish. Dalglish showing why he's so highly rated amongst his fellow professionals here today. Free kick then to be taken by Phil Neal. For Ray Kennedy's head. Gets it. And Dalglish. There it is. Well, that was just easy. So the free kick went straight to Kennedy's head. He nodded it down. Dalglish said, thank you very much. The score, 0-3. Good footwork from him. Oh, what a good effort. Neil joining the attack. Johnson setting it up for Kennedy, and it's a goal. Well, really, they seem to have so much time, the Liverpool players up front, that you wonder if a flag isn't going to be raised for offside or something, because from time to time in this match, the City players have just stood there and looked as the ball has gone into the net. Manchester City 0, Liverpool 4, the scorer Ray Kennedy.
Well, that result tells the story. Liverpool are as dangerous as ever, and Manchester City still have some way to go before their remoulded team achieves the consistency that Malcolm Allison is seeking.
Yes, Liverpool is dangerous as ever as they move into the top three for the first time this season. 3 points behind the leaders and with a game in hand. Manchester United go back on top after a goalless draw at Everton and are now a point ahead of Nottingham Forest, beaten at Spurs. Then come 5 clubs, all on 15 points. The day's biggest crowd, over 49,000, saw birthday boy Glenn Hoddle score Spurs winner against Forest after just 3 minutes. It was his 9th goal of the season. Brian Clough's comment, a World Cup goal which keeps Keith Birkinshaw in a job for another week. It's my turn to sweat on Monday. Let's stay with goal scorers. Substitute Neil Smiley gave Crystal Palace their 7th draw of the season with the equaliser at Bolton. The Browns of West Bromwich Albion beat Coventry by themselves, Alistair getting the first 2 and Tony the last 2 in Albion's 4-1 win. Andy Gray gave Wolves the lead against his former club Aston Villa, but Gary Shaw equalised before half-time. Villa's Brendan Ormsby and Wolves striker John Richards were both sent off. Brighton's Andy Rollins was also sent off as his team crashed 4-2 at home to Norwich. It's a defeat which sent Brighton to the bottom, a point behind Derby, who lost 3-2 at Stoke. Ipswich moved up 3 places after Alan Brazil's goal beat Middlesbrough. We've seen Division 2, so on to the 3rd, where leaders Sheffield United disappointed a crowd of nearly 20,000 by losing 1-0 at home to Millwall. The scorer was Nick Chatterton, and Millwall's win takes them into 2nd place after Colchester's 3-0 defeat at Blackburn. Sheffield Wednesday stay 4th after winning 4-3 at Wimbledon, with Terry Curran getting 2 of their goals. Jackie Graham scored Brentford's winner at Plymouth after his goalkeeper Len Bond had brilliantly saved a penalty. One result in Division 4 tonight, Torquay 3, Halifax 0, and that win takes Torquay into 6th place. The new leaders are Huddersfield, who drew 2-2 at home against York, but only goal difference separates them from Portsmouth, who lost last night, and Bradford City, who also drew 2-2 with Bournemouth. Ted McDougall's early header in that game gave him his 249th league goal, more than any other current player. Pools news and no fortunes. There were 12 score draws and no claims are needed. The numbers are 1, 11, 16, 23, 27, 34, 35, 38, 44, 50, 54 and 55.
Well, just to let you know that we'll be running Goal of the Month next week, but now it's time to examine the topic that set most people in the game arguing forcibly all week. Are current players deceiving referees? For their views, here are Gordon Taylor, Chairman of the Professional Footballers Association, and Pat Partridge, FIFA and Football League referee. Pat, are they?
I don't think so, in my opinion, Jim. I don't think it's any worse now than it has been over the years.
Do you think their techniques have improved to an extent that when they do fall, referees are not spotting it as well as they might?
Well, I can't speak on behalf of the referees, but as far as I'm concerned, one has got to be realistic. Players are moving much quicker than they were some years ago, and one can be deceived by quick movement. But from my own point of view, then if I make a mistake of that nature, then I've got to live by it. I've got to accept it if it happens.
Yeah. What about players? Do you think they bear responsibility in this, Gordon?
Well, I don't know, Jim. There's been a lot of fuss talked over the past week, and yet on tonight's games, 11 goals scored. I didn't see any players deceiving referees there, or feigning injury, or so-called exaggerating fouls, did you?
You didn't watch closely enough. Bob spotted one. I'm not going to mention the name of the player because we're in enough trouble already with the 2. But, I mean, it does happen. We deliberately not mentioned the 2 examples from last week because it's not to persecute a couple of players. But it does happen with all teams and all players, doesn't it? And they get away with it.
I'm not saying... Since the game began, there's been obviously some form of gamesmanship. That's why we have referees and umpires in every sport. But I think, you know, we can get carried away. There can be 1 or 2 incidents. Sweeping generalisations can be made. All footballers' authorities are sucked into the controversy, and then after a week it passes over onto the next subject. And sometimes I think we tend to forget the real issues of the game.
Do you say then that you are not worried at all about it, either of you, that there have been wrong decisions in matches? Obviously, I'm not the ones we're talking about.
There'll always be wrong decisions in matches from somebody's point of view. One's got to be realistic about this and face reality. Mistakes will be made, and referees can't please everybody all the time. I mean, last weekend, I understand that there were 2 incidents shown on TV, but when you look at it, there were about 1,100 players playing in the Football League last Saturday. Now, if we're going to highlight a couple of incidents and then condemn everybody, I think it is wrong. If we looked at this realistically, if it is going on, then fair enough, we accept it. But I don't condone it. we have got to get together and talk about this area and turn around and say, okay, if referees are missing it, are the players doing it deliberately, then the only way we will solve this is the villains of the piece, the referees and the players getting together, which, in all fairness, which are doing now, because Gordon will ratify this as the member of the PFA, and I know for my association are getting together to talk over these sort of problems. And I think we can talk about it and solve the problem.
Marvellous. You are now saying there is a problem. I mean, first of all, before we can solve a problem, we have to admit whether there is one or not. If you say there is no problem, it doesn't need solving. Is there a problem?
There is no problem as such. This sort of thing will happen in the game, and if you want to highlight it as a problem and we play on words, then one can turn on and say, there always will be problems. By virtue of the nature of the game, it's a bodily contact game, and then one has got to accept, if the opinion of the referee is the one that matters, then you've got to stick by it. Yeah. And whether or not that referee is right. And the other thing one has got to be realistic about is this. A player will only be penalised if he intentionally commits an offence. A player can strike another player, and it can not be penalised because it's not intentional.
Yeah. Nobody is persecuting referees entirely. What we're looking for is an improvement in present standards. We're all looking for that. Gordon,
yes.
What can be done on that?
At the end of the day, you know, it is up to the referee to ascertain whether an incident's been taken place, whether in fact the player has exaggerated the foul. I think it's natural for a referee to be more reluctant to give an offence in the penalty area than he would outside the area because of the consequences of penalty kick. And from the same point of view, it might be natural for a player to want to bring it to the notice of the referee that in fact he's been fouled. You get some players that the total control depends on balance, like players like Liam Brady. They don't need to be side down, they can be touched. You know.
What about when players feign injury? I mean, tomorrow, in one of tomorrow's papers, Clive Thomas has said categorically that that's the thing that sticks in his crop, that players probably get each other sent off, certainly names taken, by feigning injury. Now, that's a referee saying that. Do you mean to say that is not happening now?
I know people say this about footballers and they love to have a go. Footballers are highly trained athletes, and you're travelling at speed, the game's faster than ever now, and an incident takes place, a collision, and you know, if you've played the game, for that moment in time it can seem, you think you've broken your leg, but that's why they call it a magic sponge. It comes on, and inside 2 minutes you're as right as rain. And that really does happen. And I honestly believe, I wouldn't like to think that any player would consciously feign injury to get another one booked. And if he did, we certainly wouldn't condone it, obviously.
Obviously you wouldn't. Do you agree with that?
I agree with what Gordon is saying there, but one has got to be realistic, and I've got to endorse what Clive has said there. It is a minority. You will get the odd player who will want to do this sort of thing, and it's tragic. He's letting his profession down, that's all I can say.
Gordon?
Well, you know, Pat's just said it. We certainly wouldn't condone it, and I would like, you know, to know some examples of where players have got other players sent off by overacting.
Yeah. Can referees really spot these occasions? I mean, Gordon has said how difficult it is to decide whether a player is fooling you or not. Not only with penalties, but with injuries and anything. Can they improve their recognition of those things in any way? Do you think the communication you're suggesting will do that?
It's got to do it, Jim, for the good of the game. And as far as I am concerned, I think any referee is worth his salt is prepared to listen to other people talking, and if he can improve his efficiency, that's what it's all about. If we reach the pitch where we think we can't be improved, generally or individually, then we're defeating the object.
Yeah, it's a question of respect, and I think the more respect players and referees have for each other, I think the better it will be for the game. I've made the point about possibly, you know, more ex-professionals going into the game on a refereeing side. I know there are difficulties. I know it happens in Germany where players at clubs can go away for training courses and start partway up the ladder. But I know there are problems with it. But I think it might be a good thing.
The one thing that's come out of this, really, one thing for the good, I think, is that you must communicate more with each other. Why has that not happened up to now? Very quickly.
Well, quickly, the referees approached the PFA and we've had meetings with them, and we're more than prepared to talk the problems over, not only with the referees, but with the managers and secretaries, because they're the manager in charge of the behaviour of his players on the pitch, and if we can all get together, it can only be for the good of the game.
Well, I know that's what we all want, and thanks very much for coming on the programme.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, Match of the Day is earlier next week. We start at 9 o'clock with an hour's football, including Goal of the Month, followed by exclusive coverage of Jim Watt's defence of his world lightweight title against Roberto Vasquez at the Kelvin Hall, Glasgow. And just a reminder to put your clocks back tonight before you go to bed. And I trust you sleep well, but I'm afraid one young man might have some difficulty, Billy O'Rourke, Burnley's goalkeeper, who might well find himself counting Queen's Park Rangers 7 goals instead of sheep. but in no way was he to blame, and he can console himself with the thought that some years ago a Burnley goalkeeper let in 5 goals on his debut at Villa Park. That was Colin MacDonald, and he went on to play for England. So, Billy, forget the goals and remember this save. Good night.
Walsh, a lot of movement, McQuarrie, Walsh!